Shalom to the tribe. Shalom to the tribes. Definitely got another one for you. We coming live and direct, straight from the ether. And this one's dedicated to all my ninja naga ninjas. My ninja naga ninjas. Right from the dojo. It is sponsored by Drive Nation. Hey, all to the villains, to the code keepers, to everybody safe in this way. We're back with another installment because I just happened to be doing some digging, and while doing some digging, I was just like, man, I was electrified all over again. You know what I mean? Like, it was amazing. I couldn't wait to come together with the tribe and to build. You know how we do. We just gonna get cozy, let the real ones build up. Yeah. I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you've been able to magnetize your vibration to the fullest. And I hope you're attracting exactly what you want, and that your mind is set on that which you really are attracting within your frequency. Please keep in mind that your frequency is your tribe, and your tribe is your frequency. And we all vibrate at a 432 hertz. We're just talking about our ancient love song. Alright, here we're back with part 9. Not sure what we gonna call it just yet. We'll get to it. But couldn't help. I was building. You know what I'm saying? I'm building with the real ones. Building with myself. Yeah. Building with the frequency. Getting that key through the roof. You know what I'm saying? Most high cellular. That's A high to 5 lives. So, you know, I hope your rest day was marvelous. I hope you know that you are the miracle. When you choose up, that is. And, you know, we're just digging what will be the term? Herasutism. Interesting enough, that very term is tied right back into Esau. And, you know, we're going to go ahead and merge all of that. Not necessarily, you know, him in per se, because he's with a different series. But all of this shit coincides, as you know. And I hope you know by now, because this is part 9. Hey, out to the real ones, we're going to carry on. Peace, peace. All of these are depictions of actual people. Alright. These images we're going to surf through are all actual depictions of people. Alright. Like I always say, it took certain words to unlock this information. You know, and not everybody, you know, is the same, but there are different types. And I was able to come across it based off of terms like Herasutism. Right? And I got that link from digging on Esau being a hairy shaggy, which led me to the whole, you know, goat-like, dog-like, ape-like, they all kind of end up being the same thing, beast-like. And truth is stranger than fiction, you know. The show Stranger Things is trending with that. Right? It broke records based off the very thing we're talking about right now. It is a strange truth. It is bizarre. You know, it is bizarre. Those that's been surfing the wave know exactly what we're digging on right about now. So these are actual depictions. Alright, the image before, that was an actual person by the name of Barbara Ursula. Alright. So you'll be able to rewind that back and get that back. But we're digging on actual people. We'll dig on to her a little bit later. You know, we're just getting on the depictions. So let's see what else we got. We're digging on actual depictions. Right. Now, people, you know, tend to ask, wouldn't this be applied to all races? And the answer to that is yes and no. Alright, that's a yes and no answer, because there are so-called multiple races affected, yes, but not all. And even though you know, there is a grafting from a so-called melanated bloodline, as we'll see, it doesn't necessarily indicate that the melanated version, or more so closer to the original stock, necessarily resembled this. Although there are cases of actual melanated people having this abnormality. Alright, so melanin is not necessarily the ruling you know, function, nah. But you know, the original ones didn't necessarily have this trait. This came about around a certain time after a certain action. We'll, you know, break that down. Again, we're just letting these depictions build into the mental, because everything about the universe is mental. If you're not aware of your surroundings mentally, you won't ever be able to recognize and unlock your power. We're gonna carry on. So as we said, you know, these are photos of actual people, depictions of actual people. All right, and look at the way they've been dressed thus far. Keep in mind what you're looking at. Alright. Now they call this an abnormality, rare skin condition. But in the cases that I came across, it doesn't seem necessarily so rare as it is a secret. Especially in the obscurity of origin. This is the part that electrified me the most. This is why I was compelled to drop part 9. I don't know how many parts there are to drop, because it's like, yo, and I get it, you know, but when something uncovers itself, especially in the manner that, you know, I look and seen it, I'm just like, man. And you know, with all the drawback that was initiated in part 1 all the way through, you know, it's definitely like, wow, the build is just, it's something else. Okay? And this episode won't be any different. But we're going to get a little bit more breakdown, and we're going to look more into this. just so you can understand how I got to such a conclusion, how I got to such a point. And like I said, the people of the book are able to recognize such things because what you refer to as Levitical priests, we refer to as scientists. And when I took upon this Levitical walk, I also took upon this science approach, but not in the science that you're used to today. Nah, this understanding led to a journey that was channeled by which, tribally we refer to as the Great Spirit, where we talk about blood. The animation is within the breath. And if it's anything you've been learning on this channel, is that we are natural by law. And the function of that breathing is just such. So we're going to go ahead and get this read. I hope you're comfortable. I hope you're not in a rush to go anywhere. And I hope you're one of the ones for this mental charge. Because we're only doing these such cases. So let's jump straight into it. Let's get comfy. Peace to the Indians. You got it. So here I would like to bring the tribe's attention to 2 Kings chapter 5. And we're going to build at verse 1. Peace, peace. So we got Naaman healed of leprosy. Or Naaman. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master and honorable, because by him the Most High had given him deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. Alright, so that's the first time we see it, right? A leper. Now keep this in mind. We're going to continue with the rest of the story. And the Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captive of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress with Hawah, my lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. So he was looking to be cured of his leprosy, right? And one went in and told his lord, saying, thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now, when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. Now notice, Naaman is being sent to the king of Israel to be cured of his leprosy. Alright. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, Am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh the quarrel against me. Because that sounds like a setup, right? I mean, he's like, am I the Most High? Like, how can I cure something such as leprosy? And furthermore, why would the Syrians assume that the king of Israel could heal leprosy? He could cure it. Why? Why would there be an assumption? Unless the Syrians know that the high power of the so-called Israelites have the capability of healing such a thing by allowance of the Creator. It's just when you wonder of these things, right? When you think about it. And it was so when Elisha, the man of Hawa, had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, "Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel." So again, we're talking about a Levitical one, right? A Levitical one, which is why I said we're known to also be scientists. See, he had no fear because he was with Hawa. Hawa was with the priests, the prophets. So Naaman came with his horses and his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, "Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean." But Naaman was wroth and went away and said, "Behold, I thought he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Most High, his Hawa, and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper." So he was angry that he didn't see a spectacle, a show. There was no performance. He has no faith. He does not accept how the Most High works through the nation of Israel, through the tribes. Right? Are not Abana and Pharpar rivers of Damascus better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. And his servants came near and spake unto him and said, "My father, if the prophet had bid thee to do some great thing, wouldest thou not have done it? How much rather then when he saith to thee, wash and be clean?" So they're like, why not just do it if the prophet is just simply saying to wash yourself in the river? So much ego and so much pride, right? At the fact of a performance not being made evident in his sight. Sometimes people are more provoked by performance. Sometimes people only seek to be entertained. And I know that's, the same for a lot of the people that come to this channel. They come to be entertained. But sometimes we just have a simple message. And it's sometimes in that simplicity that the thinning occurs. A lot of people get watered down. Then he went down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of Hawa, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Alright. Gehazi's greed and punishment. And he returned to the man of Hawa, and he and all his company, and came and stood before him, and he said, "Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant." So he came into realization that the Great Spirit was in the presence of the tribe, and that there was no higher power than the power that resided right there amongst the tribe of Israel. Alright, he was humble. But he said, "As the Lord liveth before whom I stand, I will receive none." And he urged him to take it, but he refused. And the man said, "Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules burden of earth?" For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto Hawa. In this thing the Most High pardoned thy servant that went with when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon. When I bowed down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Most High pardoned thy servant in his thing, in this thing. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of Hawa, said, Behold, my master hath spared Naaman this Syrian, in not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Most High liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him. So here you have a servant of Elisha. I'm not sure if this Gehazi is an Israelite or not, but he's speaking on the behalf outside of the prophet. So in context, the Most High in this situation isn't necessarily dealing with Gehazi. As we continue though. So Gehazi followed after Naaman, and when Naaman saw him running after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him and said, Is all well? Like, is everything good, my bro? Like, what's up? What you running down on me for, man? What's up? And he said, All is well. My master hath sent me, saying, Behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. And Naaman said, Be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags with 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon 2 of his servants, and they bare them before him. So he asks Naaman for some payment, because this guy believed that payment was required for such an act, not overstanding the intention behind Hawa. Hawa had now gained a believer from another nation, and that simply was good enough. There was no payment needed necessary. But this Gehazi thought otherwise, right? He didn't like that Elisha was so humble and didn't require a payment, and turned him away because he doesn't require offerings to false gods. And these people use these items to offer to false gods, so he want nothing to do with that. We're talking about the true living breath working through Elisha and cleansing Naaman's leprosy. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand and bestowed them in the house, and he let the men go, and they departed. But he went in and stood before his master, and Elisha said unto him, Whence comest thou, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went no whither. And he said unto him, Went not my heart with thee, when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Is it a time to receive money and to receive garments and olive yards and vineyards and sheep and oxen and men servants and maid servants? The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee and thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence, a leper as white as snow. This Gehazi, he was cursed by this prophet of Israel. And this prophet of Israel turned him white as snow through the power of Hawa. The leprosy, right, that was plaguing their mind was now cleaved, right, onto Gehazi and his seed forever. Forever. See this? Forever. And he went out from his presence. He left the presence of Elisha, a leper, as white as snow. As white as snow. Alright, so when we're talking about such things happening, and how the powwow to do such a thing remained within the nation of Israel, this is no joke. In these series where we come and tell you that the creation of such an abomination came by way of corruption, this is no joke, because here we see it working in harmony with the power of Hawa, with the powwow bestowed by the Creator. But as we'll see, we get into things that aren't necessarily approved in the same manner. We're talking about tampering. But I hope you enjoyed that read. We're going to continue this read, but from a different chapter, if that's okay with the tribe one time, because that was a beautiful context for me. And just coming into that realization, the leprosy was attached to the seed of Gehazi forever. And he left from the presence of Elisha as white as snow. Peace to the real ones, we're going to carry on. Ahab. Alright, so here we have Leviticus chapter 13. We're talking about the laws of leprosy. And as you can see, we already get into a pretty specific detail about the breakdown of leprosy. I specifically want to bring your attention down to 13, verse 13. We did 12 just for context. And if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have recovered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean. So in comparison to what we were getting with Gehazi and how he left the presence of Elisha, a leper, white as snow. Here we see that when the leprosy has covered all of the flesh, the leprosy have covered all of the flesh, he shall be pronounced clean. That had the plague, it is all turned white. He is clean. So here we have the introduction of pale skin, right, being a thing. The introduction of the pale ones emerging through this form of leprosy, and the ones that the body was changed completely, it was called a clean leprosy because they are now white. right, or pale. It is a clean process. And that is important to keep into mind. Alright? Because we're not talking about white being synonymous with clean, even though I now see where it's coming from. And even in this reading, I was amazed because this is a form of the hijack, right? But we're talking about an abnormality, a defection. And when these things take place, it is a form of a curse. Alright, so the fact that the plague is attached, it is all turned white. He is clean. The whole skin of all his flesh is white. Today's definition of leprosy doesn't apply to this, but we will break that down later. Alright? This is why the texts of our ancestors are so important. Because lie hidden within the wording is the mystery, the root. Alright, but we're going to go ahead and continue on to the next one. Peace to the tribe. Okay, here is Leviticus 14. Alright. And I want to bring you down to verse 34. Alright. I mean, just so you saw, the top of it was the laws for cleansing lepers. Right. Laws for cleansing houses. Now, peep this part right here. Alright? Peep this part right here, because a lot of people think that I'm being a certain way when it comes to these other nations. I simply am not. You know, but it is to my understanding that these words draw me to a certain conclusion. And that this conclusion is portrayed in everyday features, because they never expected the so-called Negro to read. Alright? So Leviticus chapter 14 verse 33. And the Most High spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, when ye become into the land of Canaan, which I gave you to for a possession, I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession. Alright? The land of Canaan, which I gave to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession. In a house, there was a house, a name, a family name, right? Because a house is also your family's name, your clan name, your tribal name. So a name, a tribe of people in the land that was supposed to be in the possession of the tribe of Israel has the plague of leprosy. Alright, there is the plague of leprosy in the land of Canaan. Now keep in mind, from our Tales from the Script series, we're digging on the fact how Canaan was the first one to illegally immigrate onto lots and land that was not his, thus causing him to be cursed. This curse comes by way of a plague. This plague is by way of leprosy. Alright. This is in the house of the land of your possession. Keep in mind, we're talking about how this plague is turning certain ones white as snow. that is what we're building on. We're going to go ahead and continue from a different standpoint so you can now understand where we're building. We're talking about the land of Canaan having this leprosy, this plague of leprosy, and we got from two other examples in the reads before how this leprosy was the expression of whiteness over all the flesh. And those who are clean with the leprosy are called white, because their leprosy is clean. It took form over all the flesh. All right, and there's a symptom of that we will touch on in just a bit. But for now, we're gonna go ahead and get on to the next reading. Peace. So here we are in Deuteronomy chapter 2. This is for all the scholars. Like I said, my ninja naga ninjas. My ninja naga ninjas. I'm talking dragoons, the co-keepers, Ahab to the rare breeds. I'm talking the mixed multitude. Alright? Those that are picking up Hawa's word. Those who are on this wave, smashing through all hijacks. Not falling for the ropey dope, not getting caught up in the spinning ball. Ahab to everybody tapping in, getting whatever they're getting from naturalbylaw.net, tapping in with Drop Nation, continuing with their contributions. Everybody's tapping in and pitching in, putting forth their best effort to keep the infrastructure building right here at Drop Nation. We're talking primary men, Ahab to Yosef. We're talking the wilderness years. Keep this in mind, the wilderness years, and who we're going to be talking about, all right? We're going to start off chapter 2, verse 1. Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as the Most High spake unto me, and we compassed Mount Seir many days. And the Most High spake unto me, saying, And the Most High spake unto me, saying, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn you northward, and command thou the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore. Meddle not with them, for I will not give you of their land, no, not so much as a foot breadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession. Ye shall buy meat of them for money, yet that ye may eat, and ye shall also buy water of them for money, that ye may drink. For the Most High thy Hawa hath blessed thee in all the works of thy hand. He knoweth thy walking through this great wilderness these 40 years. The Most High thy Hawa hath been with thee. Thou hast lacked nothing. And when we passed by from our brethren, the children of Esau, which dealt in Seir, through the way of the plain from Eleth and from Ezongaber, we turned and passed by the way of the wilderness of Moab. And the Most High said unto me, Distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee of their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for a possession. the imams dwelt there in times past, a people great and many and tall as the Anakims, which also were accounted giants. And the Anakims, but the Moabites called them imams. Alright, imams. Now these are connected with the giants, and the giants were seen as the abominable ones, right? Because they were supposedly all drowned out in the flood. But here we see again the accounted giants after the fact. And a lot of people like to say, oh, well, there were no giants in literal stature. They were just giant in heart. They're talking about the spirit. The spirit of them were gigantic. No. We're not talking about a metaphor for ego. Right? Because the Most High said, and tall. Many of them were great and many tall, as the Anakims, giants, imams. Alright, you see, in early Canaanitish or Moabitish tribe. Alright, Canaanite. Alright, we're talking Canaanites. Let's follow along. The Horims also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Esau succeeded them when they had destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Israel did unto the land of his possession which the Most High gave unto them. We're talking about Canaan. Alright, and Canaan had a house within the land that was plagued with leprosy. Canaan was also a bloodline mixed within this giants. Alright, the Horims were also within Seir. Seir, as we'll touch on, has to deal with Esau. Esau, again, Herusitism comes from Esau. Alright? Seir. It says, now rise up, said I, and get you over the brook Zered, and we went over the brook Zered. And the space in which we came from Kadesh Barnea until we were come over the brook Zered was 38 years, until all the generation of the men of war were wasted out from among the host, as the Most High sware unto them. For indeed the hand of the Most High was against them to destroy them from among the host until they were consumed. So it came to pass, when all the men of war were consumed and dead from among the people, that the Most High spake unto me, saying, thou art to pass over through Ar, the coast of Moab, this day. And when thou comest nigh over against the children of Ammon, distress them not, nor meddle with them, for I will not give thee the land of the children of Ammon any possession, because I have given it unto the children of Lot for a possession. That also accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt there in old time. Alright, therein in old time. You see what's going on, my niggas? The Ammonites called them the Zamazuni. Alright? We're talking giants. A people great and many and tall as the Anakims, but the Most High destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead, as he did with the children of Esau, which dwelt in Seir, when he destroyed the Horims from before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead, even unto this day. And the Avams dwelt in Harazim, even unto Azah. The Cathtorims, which came forth out of Cathor, destroyed them and dwelt in their stead. Rise ye up and take your journey and pass over the river Arnon. Alright, Arnon, behold, I have given into thy hand Sihon and the Amorite king of Heshbon, and his land began to possess it and contend with him in battle. This day I will begin to put out the dread of thee, and the fear upon thee in the nations that are under the whole heaven, who shall report of thee, and shall tremble and be in anguish of thee. Alright, so here we have an interaction, as we see, right, of Esau, Moab, Canaan, and certain giant tribes. Alright? Alright? The Most High forbade them not to take any land of these folks and not to mingle with them. Right? Because there was not going to be a possession for them to chill. This was not for them. Alright, so we're going to carry on to our next one. Hey, for everybody sitting through this read, I hope you're gathering and collecting the evidence as we're bringing along, because right here we just showed the interaction between Esau, Canaan, the Horites, the Seirites, the giants, all of it right now in one. Okay, we're getting to the main point of how we got here. So let's carry on with this build. Peace, people. Alright. So here we have the father of Judith, one of the wives of Esau. Judith, a daughter of Beri, is the same person that is called in the genealogical table of Genesis 36, Lo-Libamah, daughter of Anna, and consequently Beri and Anna must be the same person. Alright? It says, yet Beri is spoken as a Hittite, while Anna is called a Horite and also a Hivite. See Anna or Anna. It is agreed on all hands that the name Horite signifies one who dwells in a hole or cave, a troglodyte. Alright? A troglodyte, or one that lives in the cave. Today they call such beings Neanderthals. And it seems in the highest degree probable that the inhabitants of Mount Seir were also designated because they inhabited the numerous caverns of the mountainous region. The name therefore does not designate them according to their race, but merely according to their mode of life, whatever race they might belong. Of their race we know nothing, except indeed what the conjunction of these two names in reference to the same individual may teach us. And from this case we may fairly conclude that these troglodytes or Horites belong in part at least to widely extended Canaanitish tribes of the Hittites. Do you see that? Alright? On this supposition, the difficulty vanishes, and each of the accounts gives us just the information we might expect. In the narrative where the stress is laid on Esau's wife being of the race of Canaan, her father is called a Hittite, while in the genealogy where the stress is on Esau's connection by marriage with the previous occupants of Mount Seir, he is most naturally and properly described under the more precise term Horite. Esau. I'm talking the shaggy one. So you see how this Canaanite relation is now connected to those we refer to as the pale ones. Right? Who else comes out of the caves, out of the caverns, as a civilization, as a tribe or a race of people who happen to be plagued with the leprosy that has made them clean as far as all their pigmentation being the same, of one smoothness. Alright, we're going to get to that soon too. We're going to get back to another read. Peace. Here we are in Genesis chapter 36, verse 1. I'm talking Esau's descendants. Now these are the generations of Esau, who was Edom. Esau took his wives, plural, of the daughters of Canaan, Adah, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zebeon the Hivite. Alright? Man, that keeps happening, huh? Oh, they keep hijacking this. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So, I mean, that right there. Alright? These are the sons of Esau, which were born unto him in the land of Canaan. This is where Esau mixed in with the Canaanites, Esau being the shaggy one. The Canaanites being the ones afflicted and plagued with this leprosy. I keep trying to tell folks, Esau took wives from Canaan. Canaan was plagued with this leprosy. You know what I'm saying? Folks still think this is a joke. They still think this is a joke. I'm not going to go through that entire chapter of Genesis 36, but as you can see, there was a reason why the Most High forbade the Israelites not to intermingle with the Canaanites and the rest of these tribes. Because we just got back from the chapter before, or the read before, that they were still connected to these giants. Calm? It ain't hard to tell. It ain't hard to tell. So this was an amazing, I mean, wow. Because this build isn't necessarily about Edom or Esau. As much as it is about the Horites and the cave dwellers. The cave dwellers being the troglodytes being the dog-faced men. Alright, so we're going to carry on. Peace. So here we have Seir. Seir being hairy or shaggy. Patriarch of the Horites, the inhabitants of Edom before the descendants of Esau, the Edomites. Esau being traced right back to this very word because Esau himself was hairy or shaggy. So Esau being born red saw a similarity amongst these beings who were already hairy and shaggy. And from the reps of it had the bloodline of giants. Alright? The hairy, well wounded, wooded, well wooded. Alright? Hairy, rough. The rough mountain. Bristled with trees and thick woods. Thick woods. Leader of the Horites, seer. Now keep this in mind, right? The northern part, which is now called Jabal. Keep this right here in mind. Remember this Jabal. Alright, because we're going to come back to it. Remember this Jabal. Talking the land of Seir. The Aboriginal occupants. See, a lot of people don't even know that the Bible talks about aboriginals and indigenous, and y'all always want to talk that shit, but the people of the book know who the aboriginals are. They know what land they're indigenous to, and it's not some land in some so-called Middle East. The people of the book have always been right here. Aboriginal was first used to describe the people of the Americas. We're just talking Cathay, La China, Chipangu, you know what I'm saying? Aha to the wave, man. We talking 5th generation, we talking 5th wave, baby. 5th dimension. We on some Cosmo charge. I mean, throughout the ether, it's permeating. Charged up. We're gonna get to the next one. Here we have Sair, where Seir comes from. Sair, hairy, he-goat buck as a sacrificial animal. Satyr may refer to a demon-possessed goat like the swine of the dark. Sair, he-goat, a fawn, a devil, goat, hairy kid, rough, satyr. Alright? Which is why when they give you the term or the portrait of the devil with horns, it's of a satyr. This is the depiction of the so-called devil. Everybody laughs at the little red man burning up in a fire somewhere in a cave. But isn't the so-called devil in a cave of fire? Isn't he always beneath the earth? Isn't beneath the earth a motherfucking cave? Aren't we just talking about a cave? So the devil itself is in a cave of fire. We're just talking about cave. We're talking about troglodyte. From the depiction they've been spewing into your mind as an infant, a child, the devil has always remained in some underground cavern, some cavity, some pit. And these satyrs happen to come from there. These he-goats happen to literally come from caves. Alright, you see how we get hairy rough, he-goat, her-kid, same as Hirtus or Hirsutus. Hirsutus. Since the name of a goat seems to have belonged in a wider sense to other animals. The he-goat. We're talking wood demons, satyrs. What did we open it up with? Let's get it real quick. We opened it up. These guys. Parasutism. This is that shaggy, that rough. This is that Esau, Edom, Seir, Horite, Canaanite, all of that. This is all of that. This is Tales from the Script merged with the Canaanite series. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking hairy he-goat, hirsutis. We're gonna carry on. Alright, here we have Corey. Alright, Corey. Root word in Horite or Korite. Horite, cave dweller, the inhabitants of Mount Seir, the inhabitants of Edom in later times. Corey, cave dweller or troglodyte, Korite or aboriginal Inuit. Alright. These guys still possess the blood of the ones of old. The scriptures just told us that. The scriptures just told us that in Deuteronomy chapter 2. We just got it. Alright, I told you these Levitical priests were also scientists. A troglodyte, a cave dweller, a hole, a cavern, and determination, Horite, of a people who in very ancient time inhabited Mount Seir, afterwards expelled by the Edomites. Alright? When they talk about this whole mingling in the caves, something came along, the hominids, and mated with them in the cave, changed the DNA, and all of a sudden the human Homo sapiens was developed. This is that shit right here. This is Esau traveling up to them caves, man. Seeing it is what the cave people do. Having children and interbreeding and mixing and becoming something different. Alright, let's get to the next one. Here we have core. Right? A hole. Cave. Cavern. A socket. A den. A cave. A hole. That is beneath the earth. Right? Hole used of a window. Is not this rather a hole of the door of the cavity of the eye? A cavern, a den of wild beasts. Now that is very interesting, right? A den of wild beasts. Remember I told you to keep this in mind when we were digging on the wilderness, right? Let's see if we can get that. Maybe it's the first one. If it was the first one. No, it was not. Excuse me. It's one of these joints. The wilderness years. Wilderness years. We're talking about Mount Seir. So notice how wilderness tied into Seir, right? Wilderness. And here we're building on the Horites, and the cavity is a den of wild beasts. Of wild beasts. Right? You might think I'm being a certain way when I mention these guys. But you'll see why, alright? You'll see why. You'll completely understand why we're building in such a frequency with these in particular. Right? So, when talking about a cavity, it's a den of wild beasts, right? Cave, cavern. We're just talking about those that stayed in there. There's a specific people in history that have made their dawn out of such caves. And that's why we're kicking. We're going to carry on with the lesson. Peace, peace. So, the leprosy that the Bible was describing, an account that modern times no longer like to talk about, is the vitiligo. Alright? It is a long-term skin condition characterized by patches of the skin losing their pigment. The patches of the skin affected become white. Alright? And usually have sharp margins of hair from the skin, which may also become white. The inside of the mouth and nose may also be involved. Typically, both sides of the body are affected, with patches often beginning on areas of the skin that are exposed to the sun. It is more noticeable in people with dark skin. Vitiligo might result in psychological stress, and those affected are sometimes stigmatized. The exact cause of vitiligo is unknown. This is how you know this is the Most High is doing. This is what we were reading in the scripture. As you can see, right, it is the destruction of skin pigment cells, autoimmune diseases. And we were just building on this when it comes to boosters and vaccines and all that. They target this right here specifically. Right? It says there is no known cure for vitiligo, which is why the mom was he was just tripped out, right? Because he was sent to the king of Israel to be cured of his leprosy. His leprosy had changed him different than when he was born. He had to see a prophet of Israel, Elisha, to get him right. He had to take a bath in that primary mem 7 times to get it right. Furthermore, Gehazi was inflicted with this vitiligo that turned him white in his seed line forever. But don't just take my word for it. People tend to, get upset when we build, right? So let's see. Says descriptions of a disease believed to be vitiligo date back to a passage in the medical text Eber's Papyrus in 1500 BCE in ancient Egypt. Mentions of whitening of the skin were also present 14th BCE in sacred Indian texts such as the Artha Varveda. The Hebrew word Zerath from the Old Testament book of Leviticus dating back to 1200 AD BCE or whatever, described a group of skin diseases associated with white spots, and a subsequent translation to Greek led to continued conflation of those with vitiligo with leprosy and spiritual uncleanness. Medical sources in the ancient world such as Hippocrates often did not differentiate between vitiligo and leprosy, often grouping these diseases together. Do you see that? The etymology of the term vitiligo is believed to be derived from vidim, meaning defect or blemish. This is an example of an unclean leper. Therefore, she is not white because she is not clean, right? But had she been one shade of pigment, she would be a clean leper because she would have been white. Alright, so there was no separation between this vitiligo and leprosy and vitiligo. They were actually one and the same in ancient times. If Hippocrates, which is the source of medicine, everything dealing with drugs in the medical field is sourced from Hippocrates. So if Hippocrates didn't separate vitiligo from leprosy, well, obviously they do it today to hide such evidences that are found in this book. We're just talking about our ancestral writings. Alright? We're just building on leprosy. We'll continue. Zaroth, variously transcribed into English and frequently mistranslated as leprosy. Alright, describes various ritually unclean, disfigurative conditions of the skin, of hair of the beard and head, clothing made of linen or wool or stone of homes in the Bible. So the groups to be struck with leprosy, to be leprous, right, comes from this word. So it seems as if they now want to take away this translation and say that it doesn't mean that. It says that Zaroth was a general term for any progressive skin disease, a whitening or splotchy bleaching of the skin, raised manifestations of scales, scabs, infections, rashes, etc., as well as generalized molds of the surface, discoloration of any clothing, leather, or discoloration on walls or surfaces throughout homes. Says the Talmud maintains a similar view, arguing that Zaroth referred generally to any disease that produces sores and eruptions on the skin. The Talmud made clear that the Zaroth refers to various types of lesions or strains associated with ritual impurity and occurring on cloth, leather, or houses as well as skin. All come under the law of leprosy. Alright, Nega, word everything, Nega. Now it's funny they give an example of two types of this affliction to the skin, right? By boils and burns, bald patches, or lesions of the scalp or beard, right? But they don't give you the third one. I find that very interesting. They don't give you the third one because I'm assuming we're talking about loss of pigmentation. Because they bring it up right here in Numbers 12 verse 10. Right? And in Exodus 4:1. So they know what they're talking about because they're talking about it right here. About his hand being turned stricken with Zeroth, and then back again. So they're playing games right here in the source. They're playing with you. Exodus 4 verse 1. When Moses looks at his hand, it's his natural pigmented shade. He puts it into the fire, comes back, bang, it's different color. Then he puts it back again and it comes back the way it's supposed to be. So these indications exist, and they play around with you because they want to, get rid of what I'm talking to you about right now. Alright. Carrying forward. This is Barbara Van Beck. This is an actual person, man. Alright? These people we're talking real life characters. Alright? Let's peep the date. Let's look at the date. 16th of February, 1629. Maybe 1668. She was an entrepreneur and celebrity who lived with a condition whereby her face and much of her body were covered with hair. Alright? She was born in Augsburg, Germany in 1629. She was internationally renowned and traveled Europe appearing in shows. She was a celebrity, that's what they said, right? She was a musician. She played an instrument. Okay? And there's tons of these people. She ended up getting married and she had children. You don't think her children possess the same thing? Right? I mean, they documented this stuff. This is who we was looking at in the beginning, in the opening of our presentation this morning. Okay? We're just digging on the dog face in real life. Here we have the next one, Stefan Bobrowski. He was known as the Lion Face Man. Alright, the Lion Face Man. We're talking real folks. Look at this dude. Look at what he's wearing. Alright, look what's going on. He was a famous sideshow performer, so this guy was also famous. His whole body was covered with long hair that gave him the appearance of a lion. This is likely due to a rare condition called hypertrichosis. Alright, he's from Poland. 1890. He died in 1932. talking about real people, dog-faced people in actual time. I mean, look at the nose. Alright? Talking some real life situation right here, man. And in digging on these things, I realize not all of them are the same. They have variations within themselves as well. Very deep. Hypertrichosis dalis. Hypertrichosis refers to the excessive hair growth that occurs beyond the accepted limits of normal for a particular age, race, and sex. In contrast, hirsutism refers to the excessive hair in women and anatomic sites that would be characteristic of male secondary sexual distribution. Congenital or hereditary hypertrichosis refers to a condition in which hypertrichosis occurs as a generalized and confluent presentation of hair across the body, except in regions where hair is not normally found at all. The hair is usually silvery gray to blonde in color and grows away from the midline. The condition may be associated with dental problems, infantile genitalia, and growth and mental retardation, but in most cases does not carry these associations. Alright, so that blonde hair is a good indication, even though we seen from the last installment, black hair goes the same just as well. There's an Ambrose syndrome, so these are all different types, variation of the shaggy people. Now notice they're in different so-called nationalities. Alright, so we're gonna carry on, build. This is Alice Elizabeth Daltrey. She's known as Minnesota Woolly Girl. Alright. Again, we're talking about real dog-faced people. This is real time, real life. And this was documented. Because this is an origin point. Alright. We're talking real life. And again, we're talking leprosy, right? Being clean. Here we have another one. Julia Pastrana. Matter of fact, let's go back to Minnesota Woolly Girl real quick. She was born in Minnesota in the year 1887. So a lot of these folks were born in the 1800s and well before. So this was very popular, I'm assuming, back then, when the documentation wasn't widespread. So here we have another one. Is she famous as well? Let's see. Is she famous? Dog face. Hypertrichosis. Not sure if this one is famous or not. She was definitely documented. She was the Only recorded Americans to be born with this hypertrichosis. That's what they say. Interesting. So here we have Julia Pastrana. She was a performer and singer during the 19th century. She was born in Sinaloa, 1834. Right, she died in Russia. Okay, this is a woman, so I mean it hits everybody, men, women. So far, all nationalities. Not all peoples, but a majority of nationalities. Like we said, these people literally existed. Great Grandmaster Su Kong Tai Jin. Right? And he said that he practiced martial arts in Shaolin. He was born with a genetic abnormality called hypertrichosis. This caused his face to be covered by thick, coarse hair. His parents, believing him to be possessed by a demon, abandoned the infant Tai Jin in a forest near the Fujian Shaolin Temple. So they thought him to be a demon. You remember when we were digging on Sayer or Sair in the Hebrew text, that's exactly what they said this word meant. So his own parents thought that he was possessed by a demon and left him. His own parents. I'm not saying that his parents were good people for doing such things, but it goes to show you that the fear of the Most High is real. Alright? So we're talking multiple so-called races, nationalities, Chinese, whites, Spanish, Europeans. But like I said, not everybody has this. Here we have Priscilla Lawford. Call her the monkey girl. Okay, this is a woman. Alright. All of this is happening in real time. When was she born? Let's see. Let's get the year when she was born. She was born in 1918. 1918. She was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Alright, so like I said, we touching all over the place. Living proof of Darwin's theory of the descent of men. See, Darwin discovered this shit in the hieroglyphs and lost his mind because he couldn't believe what he was looking at. Half monkey, half woman. Alright? That's why I said they're all interchangeable. It's all the same thing. Crazy. Right, I mean, there was even let's see, let's get it real quick. Live time. Four-generation pedigree. Pedigree of Canary family, Burma. Right, 4 generations. Look at the way. Look, these folks was. I want to say they was almost like kings of some sort. Look at this. The Sacred Hairy Family of Burma, 1880s. Look at this. You ain't playing with y'all. This is real life. Alright. Real life situation. Peace, peace. See, I already know that this ain't far-fetched because shows like these are promoted from the same standpoint. Only their fixation is the technological side of things, right? They're Terminators, they're Inspector Gadgets. This is what they're fascinated with. And this is what they're into, right? They're infatuated with how they were also brought into existence by powers that be. And they themselves are trying to bring on a life of their own in the same fashion. because that's what happens with replication. Okay, and it's being shown in this show. It's being shown in this show. This show talks about it completely. I mean, the whole nine. You know, these people of Hollywood, they're not fucking around with you. You know, if you notice the name Dolores, right? It also connects to another show that I happen to be digging on as well, with the same name. Matter of fact, The Umbrella Academy is kind of, you know, linked up with this Westworld, because what is it, number 5, when he's having his little fling with the mannequin, he named the mannequin of Dolores, and the Dolores in the Umbrella Academy is not real, but is a female, and then somehow this female mannequin materializes in this show Westworld as a clone. Can't make this up. You know, they put stuff like this in your face, right? They put stuff like this in your face and expect you not to catch on. But after so many attempts, it's obvious. Notice how it says every hero has a code. Alright. And for them, the code that they're referring to is a genetic one. Nonetheless, they're just talking about a genetic code. They're referencing the genetic tampering, which is what this series has been about this whole time. Alright. Look at the deformation of the leg. Trip, man, but this stuff is out here. This stuff is out here. They're not playing. They're not playing around at all. So I don't see why we should be playing. You know, this new man was created, no doubt. No doubt. There's no denying that. This symbolism for their show is the contrast, it's the proof. So we're gonna carry on with the lesson. I hope everybody out there is feeling well, doing well. Aha, peace, peace. So I came to what I consider the most famous of these types of people, these beings. And here we have Petrus Gonzalez, or Gonzalez, right? And he is the actual real life Beauty and the Beast. It says how Petrus Gonzalez made it into the royal court and married Lady Catherine to live out the real Beauty and the Beast story. This is back in the 1500s. They made sure to document this shit. Alright, this happened in the so-called 1500s. Repeat the wording. Petrus Gonzalez, right? the wild man at court, born in 1537. Petrus was reportedly a native of the Canary Islands. He began his life a slave. He began a life a slave as a native of the Canary Islands. But he was no ordinary slave. Petrus had hypertrichosis, or werewolf syndrome. Long, luxurious hair covered his body, and so Wild Man became his name. And that's very interesting. Wild Man. Because we know who the wild men are. At just 10 years old, Gonzalez was given as a gift to the new king of France, Henry II. And he would stay there for more than 40 years under the protection of the king and his wife. 40 years he was given as a gift. Now, this word right here is hominin. Hominin, alright? Look at how they're classifying it. Alright? They're basically saying that he's of a different species. Alright? It says, during his time at court, Gonzalez also met, romanced, and married a young woman named Catherine, with whom he would eventually have many children. He had many children. Right? His daughter was a European celebrity, Antoinetta Gonzalez. That's his daughter right there. Daughter. Right. So he was born a slave. He was from the Canary Islands. And that to me struck me. I said, wait, what? He was born a slave. So you know where I'm going. We're connected this to the so-called Canaanites, right? Canaan was a servant of servants. Was he not? So here, this sparked my interest, right? And it led me to Google search, the first case of hypertrichosis. In 1648, Aldro Vandes first documented a family with hypertrichosis, originally from the Canary Islands. Petrus Gonzalez was brought to France as a curiosity for the nobles. I said, wow. Now, I never looked into this part before. Never really looked into this part before. But originally from the Canary Islands, I see. Petrus. So, you know, looking at that, I said, wow, where can we go from there? And the way my mind works, I'm like, the Canary Islands, right? There got to be something that's going to lead me to what they're talking about. The Canary Islands, pronounced Canaries, also known informally as the Canaries, are a Spanish region in archipelago in the Atlantic Ocean in Macaronesia. Alright. So I was doing some digging. Normally when I'm looking at these things, I try to look at the etymology or the history of the place to gain more of an insight on what's not being said directly. So when I jump into the etymology, it says the name Islas Canarias or Canarias is likely derived from the Latin name Canaria Insulae, meaning islands of the dogs. And Shabbatah, this is where it gets interesting. This is where it got interesting when the electricity started to crackle. A name that was evidently generalized from the ancient name of one of these islands, Canary, presumably Gran Canaria. According to historian Pliny the Elder, the island Canaria contained vast multitudes of dogs of very large size. What? What did we just read? Petrus Gonzalez was brought to France as a curiosity for the nobles. He was originally from the Canary Islands. The wild man. He was a slave. He began his life as a slave. Here we're getting the Canary Island means the islands of the dogs. And this is how Petrus is. Look, he looks like this. Where is it at? He looks like this. This is the dog-faced man. He just so happens to be from the island of dogs. Other theories speculate that the name comes from the Nuqari Berber tribe living in the Moroccan Atlas, named in Roman sources as Canary, though Pliny again mentions the relation of this term with dogs. The connection to dogs is retained in their depiction on the island's coat of arms. It is considered that the Aborigines of Gran Canaria called themselves Canarios. Canarios, which they are saying means dog. Is it cat? Is it cat? Let's see, right? Let's see if this is cat. Let's go. Shabbatah, y'all with me? Y'all ready for this? Gran Canary. Gran Canary, right? In antiquity, Gran Canaria was populated by the North African Canary, who may have arrived as early as 500 BC. Right? Let's jump down to the etymology. Pliny claimed that the island was called this way for the dogs on the island, of which two were presented as a gift to Juba, king of Mauritania. Now, remember when I said to keep a certain name in mind, right? Let's go back and do it. I told you to keep a certain name in mind because of the region. Certain region. Jubal, right? Juba. Very similar, right? He was presented as a gift to Juba, king of Mauritania. This opinion is disputed, as when the Europeans arrived on the island, no dogs were found. It's very interesting though, because here we see that Petrus was given as a gift, right? He was given as a gift. Given as a gift to the king of New France. This is exactly what this is saying. The dogs were presented as gifts. We're talking about the dog-faced people. We're getting our very first mention of such things. It says there were no dogs found, but Petrus was found. He's a dog-faced man. They even call him the wild man. Other sources suggested the way the natives ate fish was dog-like, and this was the reason for its name. Okay. So, just to be clear, the Canary Island did not get its name from the birds. Alright? I'm going to carry on. Petrus Gonzalez, Wolf Boy of the Canary Islands. Wolf Boy. The 16th and 17th century must have been simply enchanting time, as fairy tales seem to spring into reality, and the shelves of cabinets of curiosities overflowed with unusual items. The old stories of wee folk, giants, and misshapen monsters seem to be confirmed reality, and in 1556 it seemed as though werewolves were a factual entity when Petrus Gonzalez stepped forward into the light of history. Little is known of the parents of Petrus Gonzalez, as he was taken as an infant from his home in the Canary Islands to be presented to King Henry in Paris. Alright? It says, in 1557, the first formal report appeared, written by Julius Caesar Scaliger in his report about the famed boy of Paris. Scaliger referred to the lad as Barbet, the same name used to identify a breed of shaggy dog. A second report in the same year confirms the arrival of Petrus in Paris and states that King Henry ordered that the furry boy was to receive a formal education, not to be kind, but rather out of curiosity. Okay, so he was brought over from this Canary Island, which happens to be the island of dogs. He so happens to be covered just like a dog. They're referring to him as a dog, right? They called him a breed of dog that was indigenous, it's known to that area. He wasn't playing with this dude. Here we have Gran Canaria, Island of the Dog. The archipelago's Spanish name, Islas Canarias, is derived from the Latin phrase Canary Insulae, which means islands of dogs. Alright? And here's their coat of arms. Let's talk about that. Did you know that the Canary Islands are named after dogs? This is their coat of arms. The Canary Islands is a Spanish autonomous community that is situated in the Atlantic Ocean, about 62 miles from Morocco. The archipelago has been known as the Island of Dogs since ancient times. The connection between the islands and the dogs is depicted on the coat of arms of the Canary Islands. And they're not playing with you, man. Dogs, bruh. Dogs. They're saying King Juba was the one that gave the island its name to many large dogs. Petrus Gonzalez came from over here. Another possible theory is that the name was derived from the Guanches, who were the original inhabitants of the Canary Islands. The Guanches treated dogs as holy animals, worshipping and mummifying them. There is thought to be a connection between the dog worship of the Guanches and Anubis, the dog-headed Egyptian god. We're just talking dog face, right? Dog head. I mean, this is bar none bananas. I I mean, I can't believe that this shit is named after dogs, right? Like, you can't make this up. You can't make this up. That's their coat of arms. That is their coat of arms. Digging on Juba, he was the king of Numidia and Mauritania, succeeding his Numidian father, Juba the first. Juba the second was a Berber prince. Berber. So now we're back with the Berbers. And it's all over again, right? So was this Berber a melanated man? From the images of his nose, it seems to be so, right? They demolished his nose. Juba, Mauritania, Numidia was the ancient kingdom of the Numidians located in the northwest Africa, initially comprising of the territory that now makes up modern-day Algeria. Alright, modern-day Algeria. So when I go down to the history and etymology, there is none. Right? Because it's now classified under Algeria, which is why I have to take it a step further to check it out. Algeria. So here they're talking about different names and such, right? Now, they say the prehistory and the ancient history goes back to about 1.8 million, 1.9 million years old. And they immediately go into Neanderthal. Okay, which lets me to believe that these ancient Algerians, or ancient Moroccans, had a lot to do with the coming about of these hypertrichosis beings. Especially now, since we're seeing Peter Gonzalez was sold as a gift to the King of France because Juba received gifts of the same sort from this same island of dogs himself. And he's from a land where they have history of an origin type for Neanderthal. Right? And building upon Numidia. You see this king right here? In mind, right? Because these are the Berbers. We're talking about the Berbers. Alright, so this is the name of the king right here. So we're talking about Algeria. Now, when you look at Algeria today, this is the face of Algeria. And everything that we've been digging on as far as Hirusustus, right, and hypertrichosis, the leprosy of paleness, the whiteness of the skin. Now we can see what's going on all across the world. Right? Now that we've put it into proper context, we see what's going on. But is this what the ancient Algerians look like? Are these the faces of their usurpers? Talking about Medians, this is what we get. Right? And when I follow the image closingly, guess who I ran into? First king of Numidia. Right? This is how they have him depicted on some weird ass coin. I mean, if we're talking about creative adventures, you know, somebody that's not being biased, they can obviously put one and one together. Not everybody's gonna give it to you like this. But when we're digging on anthropology, so-called skulls, right? Cast of the Black Skull, discovered in 1985 by Alan Walker in West Turkana, Kenya. The skull dates to about supposedly 2.5 million years old. Right? It's a species of Australopithecus. Right? Again, we're talking hominids. Hominids, the way they describe Petrus as a hominid. Digging on Australopithecus, it's shaggy. Right? And there's a reason why we chose Australopithecus. Because as you can see, it became extinct around 1.9 million years ago. Around the same time, as this, right? It's the same shit. Talking about Neanderthal, right? Australopithecus. All right, so there's this clip of so-called Joe Rogan making mention of these chimps that are known as lion killers. All right, lion killers. And these chimps happen to be hyper aggressive. But these chimps have the same skull pattern as this Australopithecus. The only problem is they're extremely huge. Some are known to be giant apes, 300 pounds. These chimps, giant chimps that can kill lions. Sounds like a type of man to me. It sounds like some hypertrichosis to me. So we're gonna go ahead and get to fair use. We're gonna peep this out and see what old Joe's talking about. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope this has been a wonderful build thus far. Let's get ready to ride out. Ahab.
The giant chimps that they found in the Congo? Do you know about this? They had two different words for chimps. One was tree beaters, and the other one was lion killers. That photo where they're holding that one up, that's another one. I mean, that's a giant fucking chimpanzee. It's way bigger than normal because they're a rare subspecies of chimp that grows like 6 feet tall. They weigh over 300 pounds. They're fucking huge. This is in such a remote part of the Congo. It's so difficult to get there. And that one where the guys are taking the photograph with it, the dead one, that's legit. They shot this one at an airport in the Congo, and it's fucking huge. I mean, you look at the size of those guys. It's bigger than them, and it's a chimp. And one of the things about them is they have these crests down the top of their skull, like a mohawk. But chimps don't normally have that. So they're an odd subspecies. Yeah. Do you know about the giant chimps that they found in the Congo? Do you know about this?
It's crazy, right? We're going to get it back one more time, and we're going to see what they're talking about. Let go.
They had two different words for chimps. One was tree beaters, and the other one was lion killers. That photo where they're holding that one up, that's another one. I mean, that's a giant fucking chimpanzee. It's way bigger than normal because they're a rare subspecies of chimp that grows like 6 feet tall. They weigh over 300 pounds. They're fucking huge. This is...
He said rare subspecies. Now, it's funny how hypertrichosis is also a rare abnormality, right? And the island of dogs were producing large dogs. Okay, and we got in these drops in earlier installments the relation between apes and canine. It's not that big of a drastic difference.
This is in such a remote part of the Congo. It's so difficult to get there. And that one where the guys are taking the photograph with it, the dead one, that's legit. They shot this one at an airport in the Congo, and it's fucking huge. I mean, you look at the size of those guys. It's bigger than them, and it's a chimp. And one of the things about them is they have these crests down the...
See? Now, that was just like the skull. Matter of fact, let's go right here. Look, the same thing. All right? The same thing. You see? You see what I'm seeing? The same thing. But they can be up to 6 feet, old Joe is saying. Right? 6 feet. Dig. Right? Dig on that. 6 feet. Sounds like them.
There's the top of their skull, like a mohawk, but chimps don't normally have that. So they're an odd subspecies. Yeah. Do you know about the giant?
An odd subspecies, you know? So that's that Australopithecus shit we was just peeping out. They hopped all the real ones. We got one more to get into, man. And hopefully they let us keep everything up until this point. This video has been pretty much flawless up until now. So we're going to go ahead and get into this one. If for any reason they don't allow us to continue, if they flag us before we're able to upload it, it will be on the Patreon. It will be cut out from this point on, and I will leave the link in the description box to carry out from here. But we're about to get into the next presentation and then ride out. So I hope everyone's had a wonderful time. You know, much appreciation to everyone, you know, just showing love and continuing to build. And again, you know, much ahab to all the co-keepers that's been, you know, continue to provide that wata with steadily, you know, purchases on the site or just random donations, you know what I'm saying? And I don't even like to call them donations, but, you know, you guys are just kicking it in. So appreciate all the co-keepers from all across the spectrum. That is this wonderful magnetic plane, fixed, firm, and immovable. And I hope to see y'all again in the next one. We're going to really try to pump out more videos and really, you know, do what we can do. Also, you know, we kicking off that 5th wave. You know, we start off season 5, episode 1 of The Naturalist this Tuesday coming up. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, make sure you tap in with us at 432thedrop.com to go ahead and get that feature. And for the rest of the features that we will present every Tuesday night from here on out. So, rock with your mans, and I appreciate the tribe for being thorough and to remain in pure water. With that said, we're gonna carry on to the next presentation. Peace.
Instead of bolting from me, just sort of ambled off, at a reasonable pace into the forest, and I started to follow him. They've been running away for so long, I think I almost started to cry. After all that hard work, finally somebody, permitting me to be with them.
My best estimate at the time was more than 140 chimps, which was far more than the largest previously known community anywhere.
Why do they hunt? One old idea is that they hunt when they're hungry, when there isn't a lot of fruit around. But as things turn out, it's exactly the opposite.
The monkey gets out on a small branch, and he's momentarily trying to decide what to do. Another chimpanzee comes from an adjacent tree, jumps onto the other end of the bough, runs at the monkey from behind, grabs him.
I got one.
I was standing maybe 15 feet from them, watching this. 3 male chimpanzees each took an arm or a leg, and they literally started drawing and quartering this monkey. Here's a leg, it's yours. One morning I went out and found Heron Ellington, not with anyone else. It was not uncommon that the two of them would be together all day long.
The fact that these killers can also be very peaceful, very tranquil, very...
Is he suffering from hypertrichosis? He seems really excited to be talking about his predecessors. Hey, hi to the real ones. Appreciate you for tapping in. Until the next time, Shalom. That is peace to the tribe. Peace to the tribe.